In this video, we'll talk about code quality gates. So, what is a code quality gate? Code quality is a set of conditions based on measured thresholds. So, what's the most popular quality gates? Let's take a look on this picture, and we will see that we have right now here we have three code quality gates. It's unit test, automated code analysis, and manual code review. And let's take a look on unit tests. So code quality gate for unit tests, it might be code coverage approximately 80% of your code. You set this threshold as 80% and you try that all your projects, or at least this project, should have code coverage at least 80%. And then it means that your code quality gate unit test will meet this requirement as 80% of coverage. But sometimes your team may decide to add an additional layer of quality gates. Let's imagine that you want to add the additional performance analysis layer, and then you need to decide where you're going to put this. It might be on earlier step of your pipeline, for example, before merging into code base. In this case, it will be run frequently, often, very often, and you will get your feedback faster. But again, it will be run a lot of time, and it depends, do you need so many runs of this step, because it may take a lot of time, especially if it's a manual step and you don't use CI or CD tools. Also, another case, you can put it on some later step of your pipeline, for example, after merging into the code base, and in this case this step will be run not so frequently, but at the same time you will get feedback on the latest steps, and it will take additional time for getting this feedback. Let's talk about unit tests. Unit tests, it's a special testing approach when you test your piece of code. For example, it might be a class or a function. Unit test shows you that this piece of code function of unit test is doing what you're expecting according to your functional requirements. So it provides a strict written contract that the piece of code must satisfy. So you write what you expecting from this code. It's happy and unhappy paths, and then when you run this unit test, you will be sure that this code is working according to your expectation or not. So unit test ensures better quality, but will not catch every error in your program. So it shows that there are errors, and you can prevent some of them, but not all of these errors. It's what unit testing is doing. Automated code analysis is another popular step which checks your source code for compliance with a predefined set of rules or best practices. So it checks your code style, for example, camel case for variable names, or are you using some spaces or semicolons in the proper places. All these rules you will define, you will agree with your team, define in some document which calls code style, and then you can automate this process of checking your code, and it will be run before manual code review. So a reviewer will see the final version of your code without some technical problems which can be solved by your computer. And also what's important in this quality gate, that you will get quick immediate feedback. You can get feedback before you will push your code to source code on your server. You will run this step, for example, in Git we have pre-push or pre-commit hooks, and you will get feedback before you push your code to the server. And a very popular technique, I recommend you to try to use it. And one of the most efficient, it's manual code review. So manual code review is reading source code line by line in an attempt to identify potential issues. So for example, another developer created his merge request, pushed to the server, and you need to check, was everything implemented as expected according to the requirements. So you can open a task, read what should be done, and then check was it implemented by this developer in this merge request. Because sometimes developer can miss some part or do not understand how it should be done, or just he or she worked on this task a lot of time and just missed some simple solution, and another developer can help to solve this problem. Also, another benefit of code review is learning and knowledge sharing possibility for team members. For example, you have a newbie in your team, or just some junior joined your team, and he or she doesn't know how you write in your code, how it works. So this new teammate can start your code review process and have another developers implementing features and solves bugs in your project according to your guidelines and the code style, and it will help them to understand your project better. Also, what's important in knowledge sharing that there is a project called collective code ownership. When you have a team and each teammate develops some piece of your project, you can't understand everything and you can't know every piece of code in your project. So when you're doing code review, you can at least read what was done by another developer, and you can understand what's going on in your project, what was written, what was changed, and you know how to behave with these changes. Manual code review, it protects against the common oversights. It's very often when some developer worked a long time on some piece of code and missed some simple solution which can be implemented easier, and another developer can show him that you can do it in another way and better. Fast and frequent checks. So when you create your small merge request, another developers will check it fast and you will get feedback from your changes, and it will improve code quality. Also, as I mentioned, everyone can see what's happening and everyone knows what was changing in the project and understand what and why was changed. All these gates are leading us to continuous integration practice. So continuous integration is a software development practice when we try to automate all steps and do it as fast as possible. For example, we have our linting of our code is automated code checking. We have unit tests, and when every developer in your team doing some changes, create merge request and tries to push his or her changes to the server, this approach, continuous integration, will run all steps, in our case all quality gates, and checks if these quality gates are fulfilled these measured thresholds, and if something is wrong, we will get feedback with notification that something should be changed or everything was good, and we can continue our work. Also, it helps to integrate and ensure that software components work together. Sometimes we develop huge complex solutions and we have to know if everything works fine, and manual checking, it will take a lot of time, and time is money, and we need automation of the process checking if everything works fine. Important requirement of this approach that each person integrates at least daily. So another developer implements some functionality pushed to the server, and you as a developer have to pull the latest data from the server and integrate to your changes, and that allows you to have the latest changes on your server, and sometimes it helps to solve some problems. Integration tools help us to prevent such common problems when for example, it works or doesn't work on your computer, but at the same time it works or doesn't work on another's computer or the server. For example, you implement some functionality or fixed a bug and it was fixed on your computer, but when you push on the server it doesn't work on the server, on dev server or staging server, and it means that something is going wrong. You need to check where is the difference and what should be fixed. Continuous integration, it allows us to follow strict quality control because everything is automated. We know measure the thresholds, what we have to fulfill and meet. What we have to keep in mind that code quality gates help to achieve better software quality. We can set up and maintain multiple quality gates which will be run automatically on continuous integration process, and then you will be sure that your code is good and all measured metrics and conditions are achieved as you expect. And also what's important, you can get a fast feedback to identify problems. If something was wrong, you will know that some piece of code doesn't work as expected, or a quality of your code doesn't meet your code style and should be checked. So that's why we need these code quality gates.